welcome to the Price Sell Paint podcast. Today we get a chance to talk with Tom Reber. Tom is the founder of the Contractor Fight, and he's been able to help just hundreds of thousands of contractors just be better in their business, get their lives back, get their time back. And we're going to chat with him a little bit about one of his new side hustles, which is getting back in the painting industry. We're going to talk sales with Tom and their Shin Fu sales method at the Contractor Fight and how that works, how that's going to bring incredible value to you and your company through doing better sales with the process. So excited to get into it. Let's do this.
Welcome to Price Sell Paint, the go-to podcast for painting contractors and sales professionals in the painting industry. Hosted by industry experts John Bryant and Michael Murray. This podcast is proudly powered by PaintScout, your partner in painting success.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Price Sell Paint podcast. I am here with Tom Reber today. Guys, if you don't know Tom, you got to check out what Tom is up to at the Contractor Fight. Tom has a really interesting background dealing with contractors, helping hundreds of thousands of them just get better. And Tom started a painting company really recently. So I'm excited to talk to you, Tom. Did I miss anything there? Is there anything else that
You're
people
good,
know
man.
about you?
You're good.
I'm good. Oh, fantastic.
You're good.
Okay.
See, I told you we were going to make this easy on you today.
We're going to make this really easy.
I'm just going to be agreeable. How's that?
Very agreeable. Just yes and no
make
answers.
Make you the
the
hero today.
Oh man, I think that's the opposite of what it should be, but I appreciate that. So anyways, man, I'm excited to talk with you. I mean, I've been on your podcast a couple times and just fun to have you here. I think our community will really benefit from what you have to offer. And yeah, it's just really an interesting story. I mean, if you're up for it, I want to talk a little bit about this movement from having a painting company in the past, coaching people, hundreds of thousands of people, to then now getting back in the painting industry. And so for those who don't know, Tom has started a painting company in the last couple of months called Simplify Painting. And I can tell you're excited about it. So let's talk about it, man.
I am. I called my uncle yesterday. He's coming out to our Mile High event. And so let's see, no, I don't want to spill the beans. Never mind. But I was on the phone with him and I called him. I said, hey, I'm flying you and your son, Austin, out to Denver. And he's like, what? And I said, I put this big event on and you need to be there this year and no more excuses. I'm paying for everything. And he's like, great. So he's like, what's new? And I said, I just started another painting company. And the first words out of his mouth was like, what are you, retarded? You know? So, and I know I'm not supposed to say that word anymore, but I just said it. So there you go.
Hey, it was a direct quote.
It was a direct quote. And I said, I might be, but I am excited. And I have to tell you, so I had a tiny little company in Chicago for a few years, and then I partnered up with somebody, and we grew that to doing between 300 and 400 projects a year, which was what I thought was a decent amount of work until I had Jason Paris on my podcast. He's doing he's got 100 subs crews going. They're doing like 60 jobs a week in the summer, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so hat tip to him. But yeah, we're doing, did millions in sales over the years and just had a riot and made a ton of mistakes, did some things right and sold my half of the company in 2012 and then loitered around for a couple of years, just kind of tried to figure out what was going to be next. And somebody asked me to speak at an event and then I spoke at this event and then somebody's like, do you coach people? And so I'm like, sure. And, and then now here, fast forward, what's this, 12 years. The Contractor Fight is kicking butt and got an amazing team in place and we've grown it to the point where, I've got a CEO in place and I've moved to the founder role and I just, I had the bandwidth and I'm always looking for, I guess, creative ways to connect with our contractors and I, you always want to be relevant, right? Your relevance is a problem. And so I felt for years it was kind of rolling around in my head that I'd start a painting company again. And about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I made the decision. 3 weeks ago, we did our first project. And as of this recording, what's the date? The 26th.
Yeah.
So really about 3 weeks into it, we've sold about a little over $20,000 and, that ain't going to cut it. We gotta get to, 30 or 40 a week, but it's just, I'm doing it as a side hustle because we have a ton of people that come to the Contractor Fight. They start their business as a side hustle, and they don't know how to price and get work and schedule their time. And, when I started my very first company, it was a side hustle. And so I wanted to kind of get back in the weeds. I tell you, man, it's already made me a better coach. I've just, I was joking with my foreman yesterday. I said, man, the longer I've been out of the field, the faster I used to paint.
Oh yeah.
And
that's so common.
And I'm not in the field now, but I'm just saying it's been like, until 3 weeks ago, it was a little over 12 years since I sold a paint job, and so, wow. Yeah, we're humming along, and we're getting the plane off the ground. And I just wanted to be an example of the things that we teach in the fight. And, just full transparency, man, I don't need to do this from a financial point of view. Mm-hmm. What was really eating at me is that every time I was coaching, every time I'm on stage speaking, every time I'm doing one of these interviews, I'm talking about what I used to do and not what I do. And, there's a scene in, if you remember the show called Vikings. I don't know if you watched it, but anyway, one of the first episodes, I think, Ragnar, this guy he was tired of raiding to the east, inland, and he wanted to go out to the sea and go west, and he wanted to see what was out there. And he had this little secret meeting. These guys get together, and he's like, the king always wants us to go east, and it's the same shit every year, right? And there's something different out there. He knew he had this faith that something was out there, and he's like, are you guys in? And everyone's like, yeah, we're in. And then this one guy hadn't answered yet, and he walked up to him and he said, brother, are you in with me? And the guy said, yeah, I need new stories to tell my kids. Yeah, and so that's just kind of, where my mindset is with this in some ways is, I wanted to get back in the fight and just see how we could build something really cool here in Colorado Springs. There's a lot of good people here in the city. It's about 500,000 or so spread out, and it's a growing market. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, like you are, right? Yeah. And so, we're like, but I knew this was right because it'd been on my radar for several years. But when I finally put our CEO in place and everything else in the fight, now I have the bandwidth to spend a few hours a week on this. And dude, I tell you that the biggest thing that I guess revelation in the last few weeks since I've got this thing up and going, and we're chipping away and we're solving problems, and I'm kind of getting back into my groove of, just what it takes to run something like this. I'm having a blast. Like I'm really having fun. And I think one of the things I've missed, like with the Contractor Fight, I love it. It's my baby. It's the movement and it's the thing, right? Like, and that'll never change. But my, my team is spread out all over the country. We got 20 something people around the country. The only full-time or the only other person in Colorado Springs is my videographer. And so when you're running an online business like this, or you're traveling to events, whatever, most of your days are pretty lonely. Yeah. I don't mean to be like a wuss about that, but it's like, I'm not like hanging out with our team, and so it's really nice to get back on a job site and just kind of shoot the shit with the guys. And I sat down for about an hour with my foreman yesterday, and we just kind of we were just talking production rates, and I'm talking the vision for the company, and I'm talking, and he has another business that he's shutting down to come be part of what I'm doing. Cool. And I think it's just because I have such a big vision for what we're going to create. I have a 5-year plan that's crazy, and I'll be 60 in about 5 years. And so I got some big goals for this thing, but really I just wanted to get back in the weeds, be an example to our fighters, and feel what they're feeling again so that I can help them more. So there's all these different reasons, but there you go.
Oh man, yeah. Great story. I mean, it's, I really resonate with that too. Like just being in it. I think, when you've got just a remote team, it's so hard to feel connected to what you're doing. And
well, and what's funny, dude, the first job that I sold, it was funny. We have our sales process, the Shin Fu, and I Shin Fu'd this client. We'll get into that later. And, which justified us. It made sense for us to have a site visit. And so I go out for the site visit and I close the deal on the spot. And, it was only like $1,600, right? It was like, it was painting like the inside of this guy's garage right. that he wanted done. he had all sorts of pain with contractors and this and that. And I go out there, I meet him, I firm up the number. I was right in the range where we'd said we'd be. And I pulled away from there with the deposit check for the first time in 12 years. And dude, as I'm driving down the road, I'm like, plug your ears, little kids. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like I was so fired up. It was just cool to be back in the game, And so I'm a competitor at heart. So I love the game. I love to compete. And so, yeah, we're just, I'm having fun, man. So it's good to have fun. And I got a lot more content opportunities now and this and that. And so, yeah, we're just grinding away.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm curious to know, I mean, part of your, obviously the story is that you had a painting business, you took time off, you guys developed just amazing systems for other contractors. Through that process, I'd imagine you feel so much better equipped this time around. Is that true? What are you doing different? I'd
say the biggest, there were lessons I learned in our old painting company that I probably didn't fully learn until I was leaving, if that makes sense. So sometimes you could look back at the game tape of 8 or 10 years, 10 years, I think it was, where most of that 10 years I had a jacked up money mindset. I wasn't as...
What's a jacked up money mindset?
Just for those, trying to mind read, they'll never go for this. This is, you got to price at the going rate. You can't get a 50% gross profit, and all that. And so just that scarcity mindset, even though I made a lot of money, I still had this, I think I made pretty good money because despite myself, despite my mental toughness, if you want to call it that.
Right. Okay, that makes
money
sense.
And value and what we're really worth. And so starting again with the correct mindset has been a total game changer. And then I think the second thing is when I first started a painting company, my very first tiny one I was telling you about, I had no idea. I had never heard the term job costing. I didn't even know there were coaches for contractors. I didn't even know, honestly, dude, that you were supposed to market your business. So I knew you had to get work. And so I just did what I watched my uncle do, who's a painting contractor. He would just go meet people. And I'm like, all right, well, if I just go meet people, I'll get work. And I did. And it grew pretty quickly.
Yeah. Until tax time came, and then you're like, whoa.
What's that?
Until tax time came.
Yeah. That's
what happened to me, at least. Like I went to the paint store and I was like, I heard you got oil and water. And the next thing I knew, my accountant told me I lost $5,000 that year. That's pretty much how the year went. It's just like two bookends.
Yeah.
I'm in it and I lost money. Great. So
I think the other big change is I've come right out of the gate with this company, with Simplify Painting, where, and I'm doing a couple of things that are interesting here too. Number one is I'm not using any of my fight resources of my team.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. So like I'm truly starting this like I'm a dude starting a side hustle. Okay. Because, and it's harder, of course.
I'm sure.
And so, I'm used to be able to just, text my assistant and go, hey, can you do this? And can you do this? And you do this? And she's like, got it. And this, and I'm like, and so that's number one. I'm not using any of my money. So I'm truly, this is the company is funding itself. So now I have a unique advantage here in that I don't need the income from this company to eat. So I'm taking 5% of sales is what I pay myself. So I do a $1,000 job. What's that? I make $50. I give myself $50, right?
Yeah.
And, we're running at a 50% gross profit. Just, did a job the other day, nice size interior that ended up at 58. And so, after I pay the team and the materials, we got at least 50% gross profit. I take 5% of that. So I really take 5% of the gross profit, I should say.
So 2.5%.
And then the rest of it is 100% going into marketing.
Okay.
All right. Well, I should say 90% because the other 10% is like paying my bookkeeper and shit. Right. So,
sure.
But I'm just, that's something I'm doing different this time around is I didn't know about content marketing. I didn't know anything about ads. I didn't know anything, all I knew how to do was prospect. And so I want to say my site was launched maybe 2 weeks ago, simplifypainting.com, and I've already got like 5 blog posts up. I'm already starting to, hack some traffic here in the Springs, and that's very different than what I did before. So I'm,
right.
The content thing, we got a pretty decent sized Facebook ads campaign that just started a day or two ago, that I'm investing a shit ton of money, like every dime that goes back. Right. So which is cool. It puts the pressure on, to like, I got to make this happen because I want my 2.5% to be bigger. Right. So,
right. Right. I mean, a 30, like from what you're telling me, like a 35% marketing budget, like most companies, what, 3 to 5% is where you should be at. I guess you're in growth mindset trying to grow, but if you could hold that line, could you imagine how much work you get?
Well, this,
crazy.
This falls into the big vision that I have with this thing that is pretty crazy. And I know that, as you know, everything is easier when you have leads. So my number one target right now is how fast can I get to 90 leads a month? Mm-hmm. That's like my only focus right now. I've got a great team. I've got some other guys on deck. There's a guy moving into the Springs here in the next couple months that's going to join the team. And so, and as you know, like if you got great people and you don't have work, then you don't got great people. So so everything's about, leads. I'm networking, I'm prospecting, I'm, 35% or whatever the number is, going to, the marketing budget. And so those are the mindset thing and then the marketing piece are the 2 biggest things that I've, and listen, for those listening, like, let me pull out a calculator here. If you go out and get 50 leads a month or something, that averages out around 600 leads a year. You're going to be, even if you're a shitty salesperson, you're going to sell some work, You'll
probably still have $1 million company if you can do that.
Right.
Just quick math. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sitting here, right now, what am I running at? I'm running, I looked at it last night. I'm running at like a 46% close rate, And so if I'm even conservative and I go, I said 90 leads a month times 12, that's a little over 1,000 leads a year. And if I'm conservative at 35% gross profit, that's 378 jobs and, it's 1.8 million right there, or
there you go. Yeah.
Out to be. So
I think the saying is sales solves everything.
I agree. Yeah.
and
now listen, I'm wired to be a marketing and a salesperson. I'm a visionary, I'm not the integrator type person in a company like they talk about, which is why I have an amazing team in the fight.
When did you learn that, by the way? Vision integrator, was that after the painting company?
Yeah, it was well after.
After. Once you understand.
But looking back, my old business partner was the integrator, and I was the visionary.
Right.
So
natural.
By default, it kind of worked that way, but I had no idea. But so I think for me, my solution to any problem in business is sell more.
Yeah.
It's like saying, on a construction site, the only tool you have is a hammer. There comes a point where you need more than a hammer. I get that, but this phase of the business we're in right now. So, when I need to hire that integrator, that project manager to really take who I've got, I'm grooming him now and training him. He's a great guy. Yeah. And, and we'll add some more people like that. But for right now, it's sell, baby. It's, nothing happens without a sale.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what we always say.
And those listening right now, they're like, well, I don't, I'm not organized. I don't know how to do systems and all this other garbage and this and that. I'm like, sell more at the higher rates. You'll have the money to hire the people to know how to do that shit.
Absolutely.
Like that's always my solution to systems is make so much money that I can hire the people that are kick ass at it.
Totally. So yeah, it's a great way to go. Good segue, maybe. Good segue to Shin Fu, which I know I myself want to learn a little bit more about this because I think I understand it, but I want to hear it from your own words. Now I understand this is going to cut down sales time and maybe in half and maybe even help you sell at a higher rate. So for our audience, this is so critical. We deal with mostly people who are selling paint jobs, paint sales reps and owners. And huge question we get is, how do we sell at a higher win rate and do it faster? So, Tom, enlighten me.
So, I'll give you a super quick backstory. So, in 2015-ish, I started this thing called the Contractor Sales Academy with my buddy Steve Shinholzer. Steve's a pond guy. I was coaching a bunch of pond guys and landscape industry people and this and that. And I was doing like
for those listening, it's pond, right?
POND.
Not PAWN.
Right, pond. Pond company.
Pond
water
okay,
features.
Good.
How's that? Water features. And,
different crowd. Totally different crowd. Yeah, there you go.
And so Shin Fu is named after Steve Shinholzer because one day he was we were having a couple drinks and one of our clients and his foreman were there at the time. And that client ended up to be our third partner in the CSA, by the way, Derek Johnson, who's a phenomenal coach in the fight now and stuff. And Travis was Derek's foreman and Steve was on a speaker call and over the course of a couple hours, Travis and everybody was listening to Steve sell on the phone using what we now call Shin Fu. At the time, we didn't have a name for it. And you'll see why in a second. And Travis kind of just sat back and he's like, dude, you're like deflecting these objections and you're, just crushing this stuff. And Steve, and let me say this, water feature contractors selling backyard koi ponds is about the easiest fucking thing you could sell in the world, by the way. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So it's not uncommon for somebody that sells those to sell over the phone and get deposits, and then they go out and they confirm it with a site visit. Okay. Now, because it's just easier, and I'll get into that when I explain what Shin Fu is in a minute. But so Travis is like, dude, it's like Kung Fu, man. And then he's like, wait, no, it's Shin Fu. And then that's how the name came about. So Steve's like a Kung Fu master, And so Shin Fu's nothing more. Well, there's many, many deep levels to this, but it's really, let's just get on the same page about the project. What's important? Yeah, that's step one. We call the motive. People buy for their reasons, not our reasons. You need to uncover those reasons. I was actually using Shin Fu at the tail end of my other company without really knowing it because I'm a curious person. And so, so an example would be, you go out and Mrs. Jones wants her house painted and, we go through and we do the typical, we call it barfing all over them about how great we are and how much experience we have and how professional we are. And here's our shiny little folders and all this other crap that may or may not matter, right? So I'm not saying the things that we think are important and why people should buy us are not important, but they're not important if they're not important to the client.
Right.
Okay. So the light bulb went off for me one time when I just asked this lady this question. I said, hey, what's the worst thing that could happen on this project? You're going to hire somebody. What's the worst thing that could happen? And she looks at me and she goes, if you wake up my kids, I'll fucking kill you all. And I'm like, tell me more.
Right.
And that tell me more, or that's interesting. Tell me the story behind it. That's called peeling, right?
Yeah.
So the old Tom and most contractors, they go, don't wake my kids up. Don't leave a mess. Whatever. You pounce on it like a lion on its prey going, we never leave a mess. And we always Swiffer the floors and you're pouncing. Where peeling, like peeling the banana or the onion, whatever example you want to use, is like, hey, that's an interesting comment. What makes you say that? And, I said, so I peeled a little and she said, my twins are like 4 months old. I haven't slept since they were born through the night once. They never sleep at night. The only time they sleep is like from 1 to 2:30 in the afternoon, like clockwork. They're out. And she's like, and we were doing the exterior. She's like, I don't need ladders banging on the house. And I don't need my kids woken up, and that was truly the most important thing to her. So I said, I got this crazy idea, but what if we just kicked back our start time a couple hours, which would kick back our lunch. And whenever the kids go down, you just tell the crew leader I'm putting the kids down and they'll go down the road to this park. They'll go off site. And when they wake up, text or call the crew leader and they'll come back and they'll finish the day. And it was a several day project. And she's like, you would do that? And I said, of course. She's like, the job's yours. And I'm like, you don't even know how much it is yet. Cause I hadn't even put numbers to it. Dude, I sold that job like 3.5 times what her other bids were because I connected with the one thing that was truly important to her.
Right.
And so that's obviously an extreme example, right? Sometimes people are like, I want this house painted because I got to get it on the market in a week or 2 weeks or whatever it might be. And my realtor's crawling up my tail about this and I got to get this thing sold. So that's their pain. Remember, people buy for pain or pleasure. And this is why I circle back to the water feature guys. These pond guys, when you're asking motive questions, just open-ended questions, just like, hey, if you could wave a magic wand over your backyard, what's it look like? Like when you're selling water features, it's mainly rooted in pleasure.
Right.
And so it's easy to dream, and they can add lights and fish and longer waterfalls and streams. So I bring this up because I know we're talking to painters here.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've learned in the last few weeks is actually how difficult it can be for a painter. I'm being reminded, I should say, that we don't get those conversations where people are like, oh, I want to come home and have a glass of wine and hear the sound of water and watch the lights on my pond turn on and my koi fish swim around. Like it's that dream. People are like, I just want shit painted. Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm not discounting what I just said about that story with that woman. That was a very extreme thing. But Shin Fu's rooted in curiosity. If you could just uncover what's important to people and connect with them on those motivators, it's going to set up success for you in the rest of the sales process. And then we move into step 2, which is the money. And I'm like, hey, so John, I think I have a good idea of what's important to you here. And now we're going to recap the motive. Like you shared with me that your father-in-law lives with you and he's got emphysema and you're really concerned about the dust and, whatever, this, that, the other. You mentioned in the past, you've been really frustrated with some contractors about not communicating well. So after I've peeled all these things back, and I'm taking notes. We always take notes on our sales calls. You're not driving down the road in your truck doing a sales call. You're pulling over and you're taking out your notes and you're all in. You got to be in that moment. And that's where people really feel heard. And when they feel heard, then you recap that motive. Now I can say, hey, listen, based on this conversation, I got 1 or 2 ways that I can, approach your project. Are you okay if we talk about money? This is on a 10, 15-minute phone call before you ever go out there. And they're like, yeah, that's cool. And I'm like, well, based on what you're telling me, the number of rooms or whatever, this and that, let's just say it's a 4-bedroom project, right? 4 average size bedrooms.
Yep.
I'll say, the one way we can approach this is we could come in here and we can go crazy. Like we could skim coat all the walls. We could prime everything. We could use the top $100 a gallon paint on everything. We could paint everything in this room, top to bottom, that can be painted, right? Trim and closet and doors and blah, blah, blah. And to do that, you're probably looking at, somewhere around $2,500, maybe $2,000 a room. And then this is called bracketing, by the way. So you give a high bracket, and then I go, or we could just come in and throw a couple coats of high quality product on your walls and change your color, and you might be looking at about, $800 or $900 a room. Which of those conversations would you like to have next?
I like that.
And that you get their budget every time. Because it's a win when they go, well, both of those are way out of my range, so it's not happening. I'm like, hey, I hear that from time to time. What do you think we should do next? See, I'm always giving them control. I take control by giving them control. What do you think we should do next? Sometimes they'll go, those other bids I got, they seemed low. And I'm like, wow, what do you think? What do you think's behind that? So I'm letting them talk. You want them talking. The majority of the time when it's over the budget or way more than it is and this and that, they're going to say something. What do you think we should do next? And they're going to go, hey, I appreciate your time. Thanks for your transparency, but we're going to go with somebody else because we're not spending that much. Right. And what I just did there is I saved myself however much time it takes you on average to drive places, stand in the yard or in the house, type in your little machine and, do your little song and dance. And then you send over the thing after you've negotiated with yourself for an hour about the price. And then now you got somebody who wants to think about it. Now they're on the follow-up list, and we're recording this on a Friday. So right now, inefficient salespeople are making like stupid numbers of follow-up calls because they think because they're not selling up front properly. So,
right.
And then there's other steps, that we probably don't have time to get into, but it's a Just those two steps. And I'll tell you right now, all you guys listening, even if you just took bracketing, all right, like, you know, hey, what's your address? You know, I'll pull it up on my computer on my phone. I'm looking at the exterior and I'm like, hey, you know, people like you know, typically spend somewhere between, you know, $12,000 and $14,000 to paint a house like this. You know, what do you think our next move is?
Yeah.
That one thing alone, you're going to, you know, that's where you got to know your numbers. You got to be bold with your pricing. And when you do that, you're going to filter out the tire kickers. You're going to filter out the unicorns they're going to put you on what we call Hope Island. You know, those people that you meet with and they really liked me and I really liked them. And I think we're going to be a great fit. I know I'm getting this job. That's Hope Island. You know,
it's a great place to live.
Yeah.
But you're going to be really skinny.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah. I mean, this is like question for you for those listening. When you're getting into Shin Fu, and I think like you mentioned, like there's only a small amount of takeaways we can have here. Great reason to check out the Contractor Fight if you haven't already, for those listening, just to see if Shin Fu might help you in your sales process. But I would ask you, Tom, like what's the biggest thing that people run into when they start to try to implement this? Like what's the biggest barrier you find from the average contractor to start?
They don't think it can work for them.
And why is that?
Because they're different. We're always different, right? You don't know my situation. You don't know my customers. You don't know my competitors. We got guys in, you know, the middle of Nebraska doing this, in farm towns, and we got guys in big cities doing this. You know, there's a painter on the East Coast that's been in our training. He handles 1,200 leads a year on his own and sells 75% of his projects from his desk before he even goes out there. Okay. And when he goes out there, he's going out for one of two reasons. He's going out basically to pick up a deposit check.
Right.
Okay. We're not in the proposal writing business. And so number one, people they don't think it'd work for them. And number two, they don't role play. You have to role play. You have to practice. You know, professional golfers go to the range every day. And so if you're a business owner, you are a professional salesperson, whether you want to be or not. And so I think you're not fanatical about sales. You don't have the right sales mindset. And we do a lot of training on mindset and money and just value and those things in addition to just the tactics of this. But Shin Fu is really just rooted in human connection and being curious and just, you know, hey, I just want to see if we're a good fit. Are you cool if I ask you a few questions here before, you know, we set up a time to meet? Right. And so when you do that, it's automatically different, but you have to practice so you get used to hearing yourself saying these things. You know, when somebody's like, you know, John, this is just too much money. I had a lady say that the other day. Now, when somebody usually says that's too much money, what do we do as salespeople? We feel like we're getting backed into the corner, and now I have to like fight my way out by justifying my price. Right. That's just one example of an objection. Yeah. So, you know, she says, you know, that's just too much money. And I said, that's interesting. What makes you say that? See, I'm now making her justify her point. Right. And she said to me, she goes, well, I looked online and the average prices for a paint job in this town are blah, 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 blah. This is all on the phone. Right. Yeah. And I said, I know that's crazy. You know, it's, you know, and I'm sure you can go out and you could probably find somebody to do this project for $100 and a case of beer. And like, what's keeping you from hiring somebody that's cheaper?
That's a good question.
So I'm putting, and not like in a vengeful way, but I'm putting her or the client or the prospect, they need to justify their position. I'm the damn professional. I know what things cost. I know what things take. I know what it takes to stay in business. I know my numbers, you know? And it turned out we were not a good fit, but I didn't waste an hour of my life running out there just to hear the same damn thing. Right. You know, she's like, well, yeah, I get that, but I'm going to hire somebody cheaper. I'm like, hey, great. I really appreciate you reaching out to us. And if anything changes, let me know. Yeah. Done.
I mean, so much of this and so much we tell people, all of our kind of user base here at PaintScout, is that time is the one thing you can't get back. And it sounds like Shin Fu is really rooted in that, where it's like, look, you know, let's just find out if we're good dance partners. Yeah. Because if we're not, like, this date's never going to happen. Right?
Well, you bring up the word date. We talk all the time in our training that first phone call is just to see, does it make sense for us to go on a date? Yeah. To meet in person. You know, it's like you're on a dating app, right? And you're swiping left, swiping right. Oh, she's kind of cute and this and that. You read a little about her and you're like, she's probably a little batshit crazy. You swipe, right? You know, and this and that. And then you see somebody you might, and my wife and I met on a dating app. Okay. And we were like,
success story.
I'm checking her out. She's checking me out. And I'm like, I send a little DM and I just go, hey.
Hey, you know, have you ever heard of the Shin Fu sales method?
Yeah. I'm like, hey.
Because it's going to get used on you.
I just go, hey, I'm Tom. And she's like, I'm Lee. And then we went back and forth for a little bit. And then a couple days later, we decided to go meet and have a drink. And we got to know each other. And now we're married, right? Several years later. So that's what Shin Fu is. It's just, it's sales training, but it's really like human being communication training. Because if you just approach every conversation you have with people like, I just want to make you feel important. And you do that by listening, by affirming what they say, by asking questions, like having this conversation versus the typical contractor that goes out, which I was many, many years ago when I started.
Yeah.
You know, you go out and you measure and you do your thing and you go, I'll send you the proposal or whatever. I'll show it to you now, whatever. There's no differentiation. You're just like everyone else. And now it's just about price. There's no connection.
I mean, so powerful, Tom. Like, I think this is the kind of information that we strive to get in the hands of you know, our community, because at the end of the day, like getting the pricing is super important. Like, you got to have that conversation. If you don't know how to band the price, you're kind of at a disadvantage off the start. So, I mean, like, I've even I've done it in a way that I don't know if you think this is good or not, but I've said, I think this could be like between $1 and $1 million. Is that within range for you?
Yeah.
And at least we're having a conversation, right? Like, we're getting that going. And that power of that conversation, I think a lot of people don't experience that.
No, they don't.
Prices of conversations.
And most salespeople are puckered up. They're tense in the sales process. And I did a training call with the Fight the other day, and I just said, guys, you got to sell loose. It's like an athlete who plays loose plays better. And so for me, and be yourself. I'm not telling you to be something that you're not, but like for me, I use humor a lot. You know, I sold a project yesterday. I bracketed her over the phone, and she sent me these pictures, and the angle of the pictures didn't look like the exterior was that high. And this lady's a beast, man. She painted her whole exterior except the shit she couldn't reach because she doesn't have a ladder big enough, right? So she sends me these pictures, and I'm thinking, there were like 2 areas of the house, and I'm like, it's 2 guys for a day or whatever. And I've told her, I'm like, you know, for labor, you're looking at like somewhere between $1,400 and $1,800, you know, whatever it is. And she's like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Come on out. And step 3, we call the truth. It's, you want to protect yourself, and you don't want to go out. You don't want to tell them 1,500, and then, you know, you get out there and it's like 5 times the price. So I always say, you know, step 3 is like, you know, I told her name is Angela. I said, Angela, listen, you know, I'm just looking at these pictures here. Based on that, I think this is where it's going to be. But every now and then I run into a game changer. Like, if you invite me out to firm this up, there's a chance I run into a game changer with just, you know, the condition of the surfaces or whatever, you know, just shit that might change the price. I said, it doesn't happen very often. You know, we're usually spot on with this, but that basically gives you permission to have that conversation, right? And not be the bait and switch type salesperson. So we get out there, dude, and the slopes of the yard on the sides of the house are like almost straight down. Like, and so what was 20 feet is now like 35 feet in the air. And
straight up too.
And there, seriously, there was like no room between where the fences were and stuff to have a good angle of the ladder and this and that. So I'm like having to get all creative. I'm like, we're going to have to run this up here and do a plank here and, you know, all this shit. Right.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, Angela, I said, it's not going to be the range I told you. I need a couple minutes. You know, are you cool if I take 10 minutes and just figure this out in my truck? And she's like, yeah. And I came back in, I knocked on the door. I said, you remember when I said there was occasionally a game changer? And she goes, yeah. And then I took 2 steps back away from the door, and she looked at me. She's like, what are you doing? And I go, so this is just playing loose. Yeah. Because, you know, we're not launching a space shuttle here. It's a paint job, right? So let's have fun and sell this shit, or not sell it, but let's have some fun, whatever. And I said to her, I said, I'm going to take a couple steps back because I'm about to drop a number on you and I think you're going to throat punch me. And she started laughing and this and that. She goes, what's the number? It can't be that bad. And I go, it's $4,000. Yeah. It's literally like, there's like 2 hours of painting, right? And it's like 2 days of staging. It's like this crazy thing. And it's high. And I'm like, I don't want my guys to feel rushed. And and I told her, I said, I have to price it this way because I literally said, I don't want somebody to fall and die at your house. Yeah. And when I told her the number, she sat down. It was so big, or so. And right now, she's like, yeah, I get it. And it was good because she painted her house. So she knows how much work it is. Right. She's like, I'm totally good with it. I'm going to talk with my husband, and he was cool with the original budget. So, step 4 in our process is the influencers like, hey, what's John going to think of spending $1,800 to paint this? Oh, he's cool with it. So they were cool with the original. And then he left and had a meeting. So, it didn't close yet, but it will because they understand it, and, so sometimes when I transition to the money on the phone, like there was a guy yesterday, I sold this tiny little, this guy he wants one wall painted and it's like in a stairwell and it's like 15 feet up. And he's like, I don't have a ladder. And, my wife wants a dark color, like it's 15 feet and it's not even the whole wall. He only wants the top half of the wall, like 7 feet up and 7 feet wide painted. So what's that? 50 square feet, guys.
Something small.
And I call him back. He sends me these pictures, the picture of it. I call him back. His name's Jeremy. We dug into the motive. I'll spare you all that. We got to the money. I said, are you cool if we talk about the money? He's like, yeah. And I said, well, first, are you sitting down? And he goes, why? I said, because I'm about to drop a number on you that's ridiculous. And he starts laughing, and he's in sales, by the way, which was good. And by the way, salespeople love to buy. And he goes, he mirrors me. He goes, ridiculous number. Like, it was so funny. And I go, I said, Jeremy, most guys don't do small jobs. And I said, I got to charge you like $1,000 for this thing. Mm-hmm. He goes, charge me $1,000 to paint that? And I go, I told you it was a stupid number. Yeah. And he's like, and he like pauses and he's like, I don't know. He breaks the silence. He goes, I don't know. I said, listen, you got one of 3 choices here, the way I see it. You could spend another, several days or a week trying to hunt somebody down to do it for, a couple $100. Yep. Number 2, you could do nothing, which we know your wife's not on board with that. And number 3, you could just say, Tom, let's get this thing done. Check it off your to-do list. You don't have to go out and buy a ladder and all this other crap and this and that. And then here's the closing question. I said, which of those will be easier for you? And he goes, all right, let's do it. I sent it over. He shot me a deposit and it's done. So guys, I just say, play loose. Mm-hmm. Like when the money comes up or something that could go wrong comes up, don't make it a big deal. Just, it's like, like one lady, she's like, we were painting her interior and she goes, or I'm sorry, I was selling her. We were closing the deal, doing the paperwork the other day. And I said, as we're in the motive, and I said, hey, what's most important to you here? I just want to make sure I put up my notes so we don't drop the ball. And she goes, and I got this from my old business partner. This isn't like some magical selling closing question, by the way. I'm just giving examples of just playing loose, right? Just have fun with this thing. Like you have a good rapport and there's a good energy. People are attracted to high energy. Right? And I don't mean bouncing off the wall. I just mean that positive energy that we all resonate with certain frequencies. Right. And so we had this great rapport going and her name's Erin, really nice woman. And she goes, I don't want paint on my carpet. I hired a guy and, the paint job was great. And then like a week later, I go into one of these rooms and you could tell they got paint in the carpet and they never did anything about it and they never told me. Yeah. And I just go, oh, that had to be frustrating. So you always want to affirm that'd be frustrating. Mm-hmm. I said, but don't worry. I said, if, anytime there's paint on the carpet, we actually do that as a change order and we charge you for it. And so it was just kind of playful, right? Oh, we charge extra to get paint on the floor, shit like that. Like, guys, just have fun. Like,
Right.
I'm just seeing so many people puckered up. And then this goes back, I'll shut up with this because I could talk literally all week on this stuff, is when you practice, when you're role playing, okay, and you're testing these things out, you get used to saying you find your groove. It's like there's 4 levels of learning a new skill, 4 stages. There's unconscious incompetence. You suck and you don't even know it. Okay. Then you've seen the light and you start working on it. So then you move to conscious incompetence. And with some more practice, this could be a golf swing, firing a weapon, or sales, right? 3rd level is conscious competence. Like, I'm getting pretty good at this thing, but I have to try. And then the 4th stage, mastery, is unconscious competence, where it just rolls off your tongue and you can't help it. You just know what to do. It's that muscle memory. It's the guitarist shredding a guitar solo in front of 100,000 people, and he's leaning over talking to the sound guy about his monitor while he's shredding that's mastery, because he's put in the reps. And so, I would say the biggest opportunity for painters out there is, guys, you got to learn how to pre-qualify, learn how to communicate, and just be curious and have fun, play loose, and be fanatical about sales.
Dude, I love it. It's great. Tom, thank you very much for sharing. I know all about that conscious incompetence, whatever, because I took singing lessons this last winter.
Yeah.
Turns out I'm now consciously incompetent. So that's great. Got to push through that. But anyways, it's a pleasure to have you on, man. It really is. I love chatting with you.
Likewise.
I could probably sit here and just let you talk for 2 hours.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
I think
I appreciate you having me.
You have some sales to get back to, it sounds like. So I better let you go.
Yeah, we got some things going on here today, but it's all good, man.
Good. Well, I mean, Contractor Fight, I'd say check it out. Would you agree?
Yeah, contractorfight.com. And, we got events, we got programs, courses, group coaching. We're in the business of making people money pretty damn quick. That's our jam. Is,
Awesome.
We want to help you stop stealing from your family. And,
Amazing.
And you got to put the work in, the work that you put in to learn how to spray or cut a sharp line or whatever took time, right? Well, you got to put that same effort towards running your business if you want to be a business craftsman.
Right.
And a lot of guys are amazing craftsmen, this, and but they don't know how to run the business because they're not confident in their numbers, they don't know how to communicate and sell properly, and they're not fanatical about marketing and building their brand. And you do those 3 things, you're going to crush it.
Well, also staying loose and having fun. That's what I'm taking away.
There you go.
So, and if you're in Colorado Springs, check her out. Simplify Painting.
Yeah. You want to subcontract, you want to be an employee, whatever it is. Let's
Tom.
Let's have a chat.
Beautiful. Tom, thanks very much, man.
Appreciate you, John.
Have a great day. Thanks for being on. Guys, if Price Sell Paint Podcast, feel free to give us a like. Subscribe if you find this interesting. Have a wonderful day.
This podcast is proudly powered by PaintScout, your partner in painting success.